I bumped into Wayne a while back at the.
You bumped into Wayne Noel?
Yeah, over at the.
Are you sure? There's a reason I'm asking.
Buddies.
Are you absolutely sure you bumped into Wayne Noel at Bunny's?
I did.
Really?
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you absolutely sure? Now, there's a specific reason why I'm skeptical that it was Wayne Noel you bumped into.
Because he's in Idaho.
No, Brian's in Idaho. Wayne is in Michigan.
Oh, maybe it wasn't him.
I don't think you bumped into Wayne Noel.
You know,
not.
I bet he bumped into Pierre Noel, Father Christmas.
Right.
That's what they call him in
That's probably
Quebec.
what it was, yes. Mark Smith is
Speaking
here.
of Father Christmas.
I did bump into a fan of the show, but I forget his name. He at Market Basket today, he said, "Hey, Eazy-G."
Oh, okay.
I think it might have been a guy named Bill.
We also have Timothy P. Lang. That's a new name in the Facebook live chat.
Was it Bill Berry?
No, it was not.
He
It
knows
was
who
other
you
Bill.
are.
This guy was a big guy.
Jenny joins us as well, and Tony Petrello in the Facebook live chat. And sitting next to John Hopwood on the couch is Mr. Mark Smith from the Abstract Transmission podcast. How are you, sir?
Oh, not bad. Yourself? Sorry I'm late.
Well, that's all right.
Always.
Now, is that Smith with a Y or an I? Because Mikey Martineau and I want to know about this.
Well, it's New England, so if you call me Smitty, I guess it'd be with a Y.
Well,
but,
you call you
but it's
Smitty.
Smith.
With a Y, wouldn't it be Smythe?
It's Cuffy.
Isn't Smythe with a Y?
Mikey? How do you pronounce Smyth in Manchester?
Smythe.
There you go. Right.
We got
In
something.
England, they might call it Smythe.
Because doesn't Patty Smythe spell it Smyth? Patty Smythe of Scandal, remember? I am the warrior.
That's an English way of saying it.
Shooting at the walls of heartache. Am I right?
Yes.
Mark knows.
Smythe is a
Bang,
name
bang.
in England.
I am the warrior.
Oftentimes it has an E at the end.
Maybe she puts an E at the
We
end.
got something new. We're starting to here behind you there. As long as you keep inside the brick, you can sign the wall before you leave.
Yes.
Well, how about
Eazy-G
it?
is our newsman. That's why he's at the news desk.
Something
He's the
new.
best newsman in the business.
Awesome.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
you want me to bring up my hot topic now? We're saving for the radio.
Oh, please.
Yeah, what's up?
I cannot wait. Eazy-G has a hot topic,
Look at the
everybody.
leer on his face.
The,
I'd get the
I
thumb
heard you.
button.
I heard you
ready.
bringing it up a lot on your show,
Yes.
and he's going to be getting I know you're not a big sports guy, but he's going to be getting a tryout this Saturday in Atlanta. Do you think it's going to go anywhere with that Colin Kaepernick?
I believe it's Colin Kaepernick.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think so.
I hope so.
It's time. He's got the
Do
talent.
you think he'll show up?
Why wouldn't he show up,
I
Eazy-G?
don't know, because rumor on the street is that there's not going to be a lot of teams there. To give a damn about it.
I think things have
There's
blown over a bit.
litigation, though.
Wasn't that all done?
Is it over the litigation?
I believe so. I believe there was a settlement.
He
What
sued the
litigation
league.
was this?
He sued the
What are we
league,
talking
Against
and he won
Colin.
too.
So he did win.
Colin
He did.
Kaepernick?
Yeah. He sued them for colluding to keep him out of the NFL, I think is what he
The
sued them
funny
for.
thing about him, he's not really that good. You put
He's
aside-
talented.
you put
I don't
aside-
follow sports, so I only know it from a political landscape.
You put
Well,
his-
same
you put
same
his-
with me.
He's
Yeah.
talented.
You put aside his political views. He's not really that good. We were saying on the radio yesterday he was 3-16.
Who said he was?
3-16 his last 19 games.
Well, that was
So-
think of the team he was with.
So who really wants him? And if the team wanted him, couldn't they just bring him in on a Tuesday and try him out? This has never happened in the history of the NFL.
Do they do tryouts on Tuesdays?
Is he not talented? Is he talented? I mean, I don't understand.
Well, he has to be talented to
a lot of
be in
teams
the
have
NFL.
haven't want to touch him because of his political views.
Because of the controversy, yes.
because the NFL is like super like America pro nationalism.
Oh,
I
yeah.
would say they're super Neanderthal, man.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
Well, I mean, I don't really follow football myself.
And if
I respect it, I guess from it's difficult physically, but you choose to do that. I don't see the value in it over, where, they should be making absorbent amounts of money versus like.
why not? It's a free market.
Well, no, I agree with free markets completely. Do
Yeah.
whatever you want, pay whatever you want. But is it really, in the grand scheme of things, is it worth that? I mean, I don't think it is.
Right.
Especially when you look at education or teachers or anything like that making $30,000 to $40,000 a year.
Yeah, but
Most-
what's the market for a Tom Brady compared to a teacher?
Yeah, ask
Nobody-
yourself that question.
nobody
What is the
puts a gu-
market there?
Well, yeah, I think
What's
that's-
the value of Tom Brady
that's
over a
the point.
teacher?
Yeah.
You've got somebody who's teaching the continuity of human civilization versus somebody who can throw a football.
Oh, we don't. I almost S-bombed yesterday.
Oh my goodness!
First time.
Yeah,
long
you
time.
guys got into it a little bit over Andrew Yang and the UBI.
I don't think that was
no.
it, was it?
No,
It
that
was a
was
good
it.
conversation. I thought.
That was it. Yes.
Well, when first off, it's very few people that can play at a level of professional sports. The average career
I got that.
of NFL players less than 4 years. They say one of the hardest things to do in all sports is to hit a baseball, particularly a curve. There's just very few people
No,
that
I
can
would
It's a
do
lot
it.
argue the
easier,
hardest
though,
thing in any
when you
sport is to
cheat.
take a punch.
Then you wind up. Poor Muhammad Ali got
Right.
He did. He got Parkinson, like a Parkinsonian condition from being all the concussions. But the thing, and he made a fortune that winds up 2/3 of it in somebody else's hands. The thing that you could criticize is the public financing of sports stadia. I remember my father was in Denver. There was an oil billionaire that he had Mile High Stadium, which was a fine stadium. He wanted a new stadium. It was going to cost $500 million, and he got it. So I'm just going to pull the team out. And Daniel Patrick Moynihan in the 90s tried to get some type of reform where the bonds munis that would be used to float these types of stadiums would not have the tax preferred status, which would make it prohibitive to screw the taxpayers and build these things, because they really don't. They just cannibalize business from other places. They rarely create activity. The only one I can really think of maybe is Washington, D.C., which was that was a horrible
Do you
neighborhood.
believe in capitalism, free market capitalism? Do you think it works?
No, but capitalism is the greatest engine of economic progress. If you
world's
know,
ever seen.
Bertolt Brecht said that to Walter Benjamin back in 1940. You're talking about two famous Marxists.
Well, then why doesn't it work then? I mean, you sound like you're contradicting yourself, or does it just not work well
It's
enough?
a great engine. He said free market,
So
unfettered.
true free market capitalism, I don't really think has been tried in an effective.
Of course, it has been tried.
How has it been tried without regulation?
How could you have anything without regulation? Adam Smith, you
So-
had to have regulation.
You don't
because
think
of
the markets can
markets.
regulate themselves? That
course
there's a
not.
balance that happens in nature naturally, chaos theory and all that.
Come on.
No.
Well, chaos theory. You're just throwing this in from nowhere.
No. I think it has to do
I know
with the
about
balance of
chaos.
markets and patterns.
I
And
know
if you-
about chaos theory from nuclear strategy.
Okay, so you understand obviously that almost always there's going to be a balance. So if you have a swing in one direction,
There's no balance. Any capitalist that has enough money just distorts the market. You can just take a basket of cash and hand it out in Congress. Come on, look at the way the trains were made. The leader of the House, I used to know his
so
name.
lobbyism
Completely corrupt.
Lobbying, I think, is corporatism and not capitalism. I think
What do you think it is?
Capitalism is not the same.
Do you
thing
really
as
think in the
corporatism.
Soviet Union they had to go with a basket of cash to the Presidium and hand it out?
No, but I don't think that works either. I mean, I think that
Capitalism is
whenever you have unless you, I
fraud,
think you,
and fraud
think
is
you need
part of capitalism.
I think you need balance, right? I think
You're
you need,
thinking of an ideal world rather than the world as it is, which
No,
you can
I'm
see
not
from
saying that
history.
social programs aren't necessary in the current
not talking about
political
social programs.
climate. Well, look,
You can distort a market so easily. Just look at Rockefeller and he created Standard Oil. It was brutal the way he did it.
Mark, I do just want to take a moment to caution you. He is wearing black leather gloves,
It was my hands.
which is very intimidating. So just keep that in mind
It has
as
nothing
you're,
to do-
outside.
as you're
yeah,
debating.
and my fingertips split.
freezing outside.
I didn't put on a bag bomb.
Just from getting from the car across the
yeah.
street, I'm like,
Oh, it's brutal.
My God, it's cold.
It's brutal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you might. And,
I was like that, like a switch.
You might want to get your microphone closer so people can hear what you.
Oh,
what you got
okay.
to say.
yeah, it's
There you go.
I
you
wasn't
have to
sure.
speak into
I can
it,
hear
too.
myself pretty well, but I wasn't sure of the gain on it. I don't know how much gain.
Yes.
we got.
I know when I'm on the show in the morning, Peter White says you're always the microphone's too far away from you. So I'm trying to spread his
Yeah, no, that's
good wisdom.
Yes.
So the question, as Eazy-G would put it, it's not about capitalism, it's about liberalism. And liberalism in the classic sense of Adam Smith and economics, because the United States only has one philosophy, and that's liberalism. Whether you're a Democrat or Republican, the Republican Party, you are liberal. If you lead
you think
Louis
taxes
Hart,
are necessary to
if
live,
you
right?
lead Louis Hart's seminal book about the crisis of liberalism from 1945, he predicted there would come a time, because there's nothing other than liberalism in the United States, where you might need, a socialist solution, which we've never had or come even close to, because welfare systems are conservative.
No, I mean, there's a lot of
okay, tell me
social programs.
Okay, tell
out
me
there.
who Bismarck was.
I don't know who.
How could you not know who Bismarck is? He's one of the seminal figures of the 19th century. He created Germany. He created the German Empire. He was attacked by the liberals of
I'm
the
not an expert in world
German
history,
Empire
so I
as a
apologize.
socialist, and he was a very conservative. He was one of the arch conservatives. He created workers' comp. He created Social Security.
Those are all bureaucratic
retirement.
programs. They're all garbage. They cause nothing but programs.
You have no idea
more
what you're
programs,
talking
More
about.
paper
You don't even know. You don't
pencil
even know who
pushing.
Bismarck is.
Oh, so that makes me intellectually inferior. Because I don't know.
How could you talk about social welfare
Well, the
or
difference is
progress
I don't have
when
to
you don't know
condescend
history?
to get my point across.
How can you talk to somebody that doesn't know history, simple history?
Well, I think it's a difference of
Otto von Bismarck.
waiting
you're
for your
talking
turn to
about,
speak.
You're talking about one of the greatest figures in history, and the point is, he was
It's not that
attacked.
great. I've been watching world history
You would-
crash course
What, on
stuff just for the
TV?
hell of it.
On TV?
No, man. Who watches TV? I haven't had cable in like 12 years.
How could you not know who Otto von? You're talking about somebody.
I know what the Silk
There's no
Road is.
seri-
I know
You don't have-
economics.
There's no seriousness then. You can't know economics if you don't know history.
Okay, so what do you think about this? This I gotta ask you.
That's ridiculous because welfareism isn't socialism. He created these
I didn't say it
programs
was socialism.
to
They're
solidify
programs.
the German society.
Look, I don't think that it's unnecessary to have some sort of a social safety net, but
Tell me what happened in 1935 in San Francisco or 1936 in Detroit.
I don't know.
Did you ever hear of the
Some
general
people
strike?
woke up and ate breakfast.
Did you ever hear of the general
I
strikes?
don't know.
You're probably right. That probably happened.
Probably.
You don't
probably
even
did.
know, but you don't even know American history.
Well, I'm not. It's not a primary focus for me.
If you don't know history, then you don't know.
I know that socialism's
Anything.
never worked. I know that.
So socialism doesn't work in Sweden, which has one of the highest per capita incomes, and actually has
That's
billionaires.
pretty heavy balance between capitalism and social programs. Would you not agree? I mean, a lot of that's just heavy
That's
taxing,
Have you ever lived in a?
It's funded by
have you
capitalism.
have you ever lived in a foreign country?
No. Nope. I love the United States. I wouldn't
What does
want
that
to.
have to
I
do
mean,
with
maybe
anything?
Canada because they're not bad. I don't think there's anything wrong with them and their direction with socialized healthcare and stuff. Like, I'm not trashing social programs. I just think that you have to be able to see things from other people's point of view.
What point of view?
Any
What's
other point of view
socialism?
other than your own.
What's
I do my best to
socialism?
try to see things from other people's perspectives that I don't agree with. You know why? Because it helps me understand where they're coming from.
Well,
and then
I've
it makes
been
me
studying
kind
this
of
for
a little bit more
48
empathic
years.
to what they're going through. I think
Please. If empaths are like psychotics, there's very few of them.
yeah. Look.
Well, it's just there's no intellectual rigor here. There's very few psychopaths. It's just, you've got a bunch of people with MAs going around, and in popular things say, oh, how to tell your boyfriend's a psychopath.
Well,
It's like, what's socialism? What's social democracy?
I think this whole thing with Colin, the quarterback there, is a distraction on Saturday because they're bringing in that other bad boy, Antonio Brown, tomorrow to speak
Is
to
this
the
a
NFL.
wrestler?
No, Antonio Brown. I actually know a little bit about him just from listening to Pharrell on the bench. Mark doesn't know this probably. I'm not a sports guy either, but I do listen to Scott Pharrell on the bench. I don't know if you've ever heard him.
I haven't.
He speaks with a very unique, gravelly voice.
He's been on the air forever.
And he's got a little bit of shock jock in him, and I just find I could listen to him talk about anything.
I think I do know who you're talking
yeah,
about.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I could listen to him just read the phone book and be entertained.
yeah.
So I've been listening to him. So I actually know who Antonio Brown is. Are you impressed, Eazy-G?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, they're bringing him in tomorrow to discuss his problems off the field.
Yeah.
And his agent is a big agent in the NFL, and he's thinking that it's 3 teams that want him, but I don't think that's true either.
More trouble than he's worth.
I don't think that's going to go well at all. And then with this guy Saturday, I think the Colin guy, I think is just going to show up.
Colin guy?
The quarterback guy, I think
Yes.
a friend of mine
He's a
thinks I have to
doctor.
agree.
He's
He's
a
probably going to
specialist.
show up. Nobody's going to want him, and that's going to be the end of it.
By the way, Wayne Noel in the Facebook live chat says, I never knew I could be in 2 places at the same time, referring to you thinking you would run into him. And hello to Chris Rose,
What about the kid?
as well as Amy Hazard King, who says, good afternoon. Jenny says she's on Team Hoppy. Brian says, breathe, Hoppy, LOL.
What about the Canadian Football League?
And Ed Murphy joins us as well. Canadian Football League.
He could make it there.
I heard that he
ostensibly.
tried out for them, and nobody wanted him.
Or the XFL.
He really is.
I don't think Vince even wants him.
What's Canadian football?
Jeez.
What is Canadian football? I genuinely don't know.
I think
It's a
they
football-
just,
it's a football league that's up in Canada.
but they're nicer
Doug
about
Flutie
it, right?
played there.
Nice.
Because
War-
That
Canadians,
makes sense. They're
Warren
a lot
Moon-
nicer than we are.
Warren
Yeah,
Moon
to be
started
fair.
out
Nobody
there.
wants to work for the XFL
a
football
minor.
league. They barely pay their players, I heard.
Yeah, it would be a minor league. Warren Moon started out there, and then he made the transition to the NFL. But Doug Flutie was only 5'10", tremendously talented, but he can't throw down a field because he doesn't have.
I heard
you
that-
need height to play in the NFL.
I can't believe Kyle won't let you on his sports show.
This isn't baseball.
The players are going to
Where you
get
can be
paid.
5'2", or pretend you're 5'6", and become the MVP.
Oh,
The
different type of
XFL is going to
sport.
start in February, and the players are going to get paid less than an NFL rookie. So who wants to do that? And
Yeah.
the league ran itself into the ground back in 2001. So I don't think there's a big long list of people that want to play for them.
now Mark doesn't know this, but Eazy-G used to play in the NFL.
Really?
As you can probably tell by looking at him, he was a linebacker. Michael Martineau really enjoys that, but it's true.
I don't know what a linebacker is.
I don't
so
either, but it's
I thought
something-
he was a tight
You
end.
got me gullible here.
He might have been a
Yeah.
tight end.
I genuinely would be like, oh,
That's why he's all
Linebacker,
that's
eh?
why he's so muscular. He has the body of an Adonis, as you can see,
The problem
steroids.
and he is an abuser of anabolic steroids.
Well,
and
hey,
there
you
is
know,
the unfortunate episode.
everybody's got their
That's
route.
not really true.
Everybody's got their path.
right? Yes.
and there was
I don't
the
disagree.
No.
unfortunate episode where he kept patting the behind of the center, which only the quarterback's supposed to do. The towel
we
was
talking
for
to
him,
now?
Eazy-G.
Who are we talking about now?
Oh, we're talking about Eazy-G.
He was full of
he did that?
spirit.
yeah, oh yeah.
He's full of pep and spirit.
Yes, yes.
I don't
You
know
know,
any of
it's-
those things are in
NFL's
football, so I'm just
behind
going to
the
go with
times.
the flow.
Are you a wrestling fan?
I am not actually. I was when I was younger, but it was, I don't know if we're talking about the same wrestling. If we're talking about American wrestling, we're talking
Wrestling.
about
Wrestling.
WWF, but now WWE, I guess. That was when I was like young, and I don't remember anything past
It's a
like
great time to be-
Diamond Dallas Page
Women
and stuff
of
like
Love.
that.
It's a great time to be a wrestling fan because now you got AEW and you
Love.
got WWE and you got all these other leagues.
I kind of bowed out when my friends started throwing themselves through tables, and
Oh,
my friend
no.
got his face cut open, and it was a pretty bad scene
Oh,
out in
no.
Rochester, New Hampshire, when I was a 16-year-old kid living on Lafayette Street.
Did they ever hear that
watching
you
my
don't
friends
try this
get
stuff at home?
What's that?
Don't they ever hear that announcement? Don't try this at home.
I think that was before the. I think that was before.
I think that was right around the time the internet said, "Who cares about that?" Right.
Yeah, the backyard wrestling was big for a while.
That was it. That
Yeah.
was it. Was and it was pretty. I saw some amazing stuff that I. Some people got yelled at and almost arrested, and a good friend of mine got a piece of glass through the face. and-
Oh, wow, really?
Bad. It was bad news. But it
Sounds
was
like
fun. I saw
slam
some
dancing.
amazing stuff that it changed my perspective on the whole thing of what's real and what's fake with that stuff, because I think there's a amount of show, obviously.
Yeah.
Because they're saving themselves for the rest of the pain, at least in that regard. That was extreme.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think that that's obviously what we're talking about, but that's kind of where I just kind of, if I was going to watch somebody fight, I want to watch people physically fight themselves.
Right,
I want to
right.
see them really go at, full on, UFC basically, but, let's make gladiators
Well, a
again.
friend of mine was telling me.
People say pro-life, I'm pro-death.
I forget this. It's only allowed maybe in two
Too many
states, but this friend of mine was telling me, Keith, they get this new league, and it's run by a former wrestler. Well, he's trying to get it going, but he's
Wrestler.
not doing very well. Baron Knuckles.
Whew.
He was
Bare
watching
knuckle
He was
boxer.
watching on a pay-per-view, and he says it was so brutal. There was like blood and stuff. And the guy knocked this guy out, and he thought he was dead. He says, "Oh no! If the guy's dead, it's going to be the end of the league." He doesn't think it's going to go anywhere because he says it's too brutal.
Well, it's all fun and games till you take a steel chair to the head.
Thankfully, the guy wasn't dead, but
Right.
Well, some of the colored heavyweight champions used to fight with skin-tight gloves.
only allowed in 2
See,
states
this
right
is totally not my wheelhouse. I really don't know that much about fighters, but I like watching them fight.
Right, of course. Yeah. Well, it's like
My friends like telling me all the stuff, stats. I'm like,
yeah. It's
Look at
like NASCAR. If you see a really bad accident, that's cool.
yeah, right.
now. I don't know how we got
right.
on the topic, but then he was convinced that OJ didn't do it. And he was telling me the whole theory behind it and everything.
O.J.
I was like,
Simpson.
wow.
I'll tell you about that off the air.
Well,
Eazy-G.
OJ was acquitted by a jury of his peers. But John Hopwood, I reflect once again on those gloves. How well do those gloves fit you when you put them on? Hmm? Are you leaving here in a white Bronco? He's just staring at me.
I told you that story.
You know what it
not
is?
off air.
96 Ford Bronco.
He's mesmerized by my eyes. Oh, hello to Stefan Philbrook, who
I have
joins
a-
us in the Facebook live chat.
I have a friend that was on the OJ team.
I saw Stefan yesterday.
Oh, you did?
I mean,
Yeah,
on
you've
Monday at
talked to him.
the Veterans Parade.
How could you have seen Stefan? He lives in Michigan.
The Stefan, he lives in Manchester.
No, he lives with Wayne Noel. I'm kidding. It's a joke.
We were talking about the NBA briefly.
The NBA?
I don't even remember that.
Yeah.
When do we talk about
isn't
the
that
NBA? We're talking about the NFL.
Isn't that guy? He throws a sports ball. Colin Kaepernick.
Oh, that's
Oh,
football.
the
That's
NFL.
football.
That's
I'm being,
football.
I'm being
Football, that's-
facetious.
Football.
I got it.
It was dry.
in Texas.
Anyway,
Football.
I wanted to tangent to the NBA because of the thing with China. I
yes.
don't understand what the backstory between the NBA. I know there was some stuff back when Clinton was president that happened where they were allowing trade deals, but people are saying there's a human rights issue. What's going on in China, other than the fact that
And how
they're
did
slowly
Clinton
losing
come
their grip
into
because
this?
of technology and
I'm a
people
little,
having access to it?
I'm a little unclear on it as well, to be
How did
honest
Clinton
with you.
have anything to do with the Chinese and the NBA?
I think it all goes back to
Maybe the Bidens.
I don't know about the NBA, but I know that there was an issue back in 2000 where Clinton was getting heat because we were signing trade agreements with China, and they were saying, well, we shouldn't be doing trade with China because they have human rights issue. And he's like, no, any trade is good trade, so on and so forth. I don't have a perspective on it. I'm just saying that happened, I guess. Anyway, something happened with the NBA where they were saying they stood out against it, and then they were like, you can't, to a bunch of different NBA players, you weren't allowed to be here in,
Well, LeBron-
in China or
yeah.
something. I don't really know 100%.
And then LeBron James tweeted something about it and got into some trouble. And I'm
Okay,
looking it
so-
up because I can't remember exactly what it was. Because
Yeah, it's always good to pick on other countries and pick on what they do bad, because that way, if we do bad things, we can focus on theirs bad.
Right. Don't look at us and our, reality
we don't want
TV
anybody
show
else-
president. Go over there.
I
Those
just told
guys,
Matt before, we don't want
communism
anybody.
and human rights problems.
We don't want anybody to have nukes, but we have more nukes than anybody.
Oh,
you know?
absolutely. Our defense spending is ridiculous and absurd. It's unnecessary.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean,
We're the good guys, though. We're the white.
Yeah, we're the good guys with all the bombs. Right.
Right. We don't do anything bad.
Trust the good guys with all the weapons. Sure.
And what did those weapons do but keep the peace since 1945? There hasn't been a war.
Yeah, that's arguable. You can ask the people.
You've been in the military?
The countries that we topple over and, have coups and, ask those countries how they feel about their freedom being shoved down their throat. I don't
And
think
what
that,
world do you think we live in? Do you think that
I think cultures
the
are different and not
Russians
everybody
are,
wants McDonald's.
that the Russians are wonderful?
I,
Well, my personal experience, whatever we could do,
the
they could do
Russians
3
are
times as worse.
no example of where I think we should be. I think we've got a fantastic country. We just
Do you
need
have
to
a-
keep
do you have
on
an automobile?
keeping on. No, I don't actually. I
Well,
can't
that's
drive,
good.
so
Why not?
because I have a disability.
Oh,
Ha ha. Just
That's
kidding.
not, I have a disability too. I should probably I should probably not be driving.
Honestly, it's just I probably could
Well,
push
we're
the
in
envelope,
these-
but it's not safe for other people. If I have an ankle issue, I don't want to cause an accident. So
I know what
that's more.
You
my
can't
concern.
get the control.
So I can.
My
It's just a
aunt
matter of
had
whether
those.
I want to put the money into doing that
Yeah,
and
they're
stuff.
expensive.
And then it's like, I don't have the money to have a car to get all of that stuff situated, and some other stuff. It's just not a concern. But hey, in a couple of years, it's not going to matter. We're all going to have robot cars driving us anywhere anyway.
Well, what gets me is these
Uber
are
is
oil
gonna-
wars that we're in purely for gasoline and cheap gasoline.
Oh yeah, it's just
We
natural
are-
resource battle.
Yeah.
We want theirs.
We weren't in bed with the Saudis. The gallon of gasoline would be $4, and the economy
I
would be
don't
slumping.
disagree with you.
So we're in these ridiculous oil wars that we're supposed to avoid since the 70s. And then
Oh,
it just
don't worry.
evolved
That's
on
where
up.
we're not helping anybody. It's like no matter who's president, we're always over there. We're always causing problems. Sure, Trump is, in my opinion, probably one of the worst examples of foreign policy ever in our history of presidents.
Jesus, what a botch in the
It's
Middle
a
East.
nightmare for the whole world because they're watching us flip-flop politically every 4 to 8 years. So the whole system is
Not
completely...
4 to 8 years. With him, it's every 4 to 8 weeks.
Well, I know, but I mean in general, as a country, though, it's like, okay, yeah, you got your promises for 4 to 8 years until you have somebody else from the other partisan side come in and they go, well, we're not doing things that way anymore. We're going to make a wall instead. And then every 48 years, it's a new, it's a new direction. And the problem with that, this political mudslinging that we've got, nobody's bringing anybody together. Bush did a better job at bringing people together with fake lies and garbage after we got the Twin Towers. He made everybody feel nice and cozy. I'm not saying
Anybody
that that's
could
what
have
we
done
need,
that.
but what I'm saying is that we don't have any type of unifying force. And this is why I'm such an advocate for Andrew Yang. I'm going
But
to
when did the
continue
United States
pushing
ever
for Andrew
have
Yang.
that?
We need to set in place some very specific things. If we're going to sign trade agreements, things with Iran, any of those things, we need to stick with them because when we don't,
I agree.
we look like jerks. And then
We look unreliable.
We look
To who?
unreliable and we're supposed to be the
who?
leaders of the three worlds.
To our allies.
To the
Who do you think runs the
all
world?
of human existence.
It's like-
listens to what we do
Talk about
and watches
cognitive
our
dissonance.
Hollywood movies and eats the McDonald's, but with way
So
less
what?
plastics in it.
John
Got a phone
Hopwood
call.
is getting
Somebody's
a
calling
call.
in. They didn't want to use your number.
I guess not.
They wanted the fast track.
And,
I don't blame 'em.
And Eazy-G has gone to use the restroom.
Sorry,
No, go ahead.
I don't ever, want anybody to think politically I'm one way or another. I
Right.
argue usually the polar opposite of what the other person's arguing, whether
Yeah.
I believe it or not.
Yeah.
I'll argue a conservative argument against a liberal and then vice versa because
Yeah.
I think that it just betters us as people to continue to have these conversations, to try to see things from another perspective that you don't believe in.
No, I agree. Yeah.
You're going to step in somebody else's shoes. You're never going to understand where they're coming from, and you're never going to have that unifying
Right.
force.
People
you don't
like-
have to
What
believe them.
unified force? Tell me, where in history there was unified force? Do you realize that?
The Roman Empire. It's pretty unified.
No, it wasn't.
I'm kidding.
Do you think about the politics with murder?
Comparatively to the United
Because it was a
States, it's very
dictatorship
uniform.
used with brute force.
Yes, that's true. Coercion is not a shining example, and I don't think aggression is ever a good solution. I don't think using aggression for any reason is any solution. I don't think that you have the right to put a gun against my head and say I have to pay taxes either. I think that at the end of the day, that's my right in a voluntary decision. Voluntarism is what the world should be powered by, not forced tax.
I do think
Taxation
in
is
what
theft.
world?
I do think Eazy-G should have to pay taxes, though.
Oh, really?
Well, for his water usage when he uses the bathroom.
Okay.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus, we'd be bankrupt.
That's
You know,
true.
because you talk about a world that I don't see that ever existed.
Fictitious.
You know, you talk about the United States.
I'm not saying it's
let's-
existing now. I'm
let's
saying
look
that
at
we got to
Brit-
prepare for what's going to happen 20 years from now. You're not going to be
Politics
here.
was
My kid
always
is. I might not
brutal.
be here.
Politics was always brutal.
Okay, but we need to get past that.
There was never much of a consensus that wasn't bought
We're talking
by
about the continuity of human
lobbyists.
civilization. A couple of things need to happen if we're going to survive as a species. One of them is getting off the planet. Two of them is stop fighting over God.
Well, why don't we have the dictator that you want that's going to dictate
We don't
all
need
this
to
to us?
dictate anything. We got people voluntarily solving things together.
Oh, yeah. What, in a Coca-Cola commercial from 1970?
Elon Musk, he's giving the world free internet.
Oh.
Think about that the next time you tweet something angry.
The internet, that wonderful...
The free internet the world should
that
have.
wonderful
basic
avenue to robot.
We talk about universal
human
basic
beings.
income. We talked about this yesterday. What about
Yes.
universal basic knowledge? The fundamental understanding. Do you know what I mean when I say universal basic knowledge? I mean that 25 years ago, we didn't all have a phone in our pocket, which gave us all of human civilization up to now in our pocket. You can go right on Google and go, hey, Google, do cats eat pancakes? And find out.
Wow. Isn't that amazing?
It is
to
pretty
go
amazing.
to Google,
It's
which is run for
By
profit.
Do cats eat pancakes?
No, I think they probably
Why
die.
don't you tell...
Okay.
I'll tell you something about the wonders of
I
the
didn't look
internet.
it up, though. I want to find out now.
The absolute absurdities created by this, like something like Wikipedia that created. I saw it, a whole thing of there's a 6-star general. Nothing ever existed like that. I used to be a Wikipedian. They just keep at it, and create
What are we talking about?
absolute bull.
Oh, you're saying fake news.
Yeah.
Fake news.
So
it's
the
fake
misinformation
consciousness.
is different than information.
What is information?
Information is just data, ones and zeros spread from one person to another, right?
That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It's all. What do you mean it's ridiculous? Do you know what binary code is and how it operates?
I've known probably what it is before you
probably
were
know
born.
more than
How
I
old
do.
are you?
I'm like 5 years old.
But that's not information.
I just gave you some information. Whether you believe it or not, that's up to you. What I'm saying is information is power, right? At the end
These
of the
are
day,
all just all you're doing is taking these marketing slogans and turning them into shibboleth.
well, you don't let
It
me get to a
means
point because you
nothing.
got me off.
It means
You gotta
nothing
learn to stop
because
listening to
it's
yourself
silly.
speak and start listening to other people.
It's silly.
It'll help you.
Read
Life.
about cognitive dissonance.
Cognitive dissonance is denying facts. I don't deny facts.
It's not denying facts.
Yeah, it's looking at facts, seeing something in front of you, and being like,
Cognitive
nope,
dissonance
can't handle
means
that
something
fact.
much more
That's
than
just
that.
not going to compute, and their brain just doesn't register it. That's what cognitive dissonance is.
What's a rich text?
What you're saying right now is pretty rich.
What's a rich
I see what you did there.
text? What's a rich
I know.
text?
Listen, I don't know, but you're going on a tangent that doesn't matter. We've got to
It
go
isn't a
back.
tangent. You're talking about information. I've been involved in information most of my life. I was in the publishing industry. What's a rich
So
text?
information is power. What we're doing right now is.
That's the meaning of information is power.
Let me get to the point, and I'll tell
What
you.
is your point? But you can't tell me what a rich text is.
I don't care. That's
Then
why.
you don't know about
I
information.
don't give a care.
0-1 binary code
And it
is
is-
not information.
It is how the world runs.
That's like saying that
It runs on code. Are you high?
That's like saying that a page here. You have a printed page.
Listen, I can't have a
That's the
conversation
medium.
with somebody who's just not going to. Cognitive dissonance.
You
brought up cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, because you
which
are
is so ironic in this circumstance.
Dude, you are coming out with
Ones
all
and
this
zeros.
stuff like from a TED Talk that's absolutely
From a TED Talk.
meaningless.
Thank you for
I
coming
mean,
to
look,
it.
it's all marketing
It's
stuff.
marketing. What am I marketing?
Oh, one. That's that means nothing.
What it means to me is that everything is changing. In China, here in this country, the entire world has shifted in a direction
Wow,
that
there's
is
a real
not
novel.
changeable.
That's real novel.
It is pretty
That's-
novel.
You can
It's
start.
causing people to
show me
revolt.
one point in human history where that's not true. You can go back to recorded history.
Everything
that's
before the
true.
internet. The internet is a convergence of understanding and technology.
Now
that
we
we've
got
never
the
had
convergence. Let's market that.
We
You live in
we
a
should.
completely. You live in a
I
consciousness.
live in a science fiction world, right?
No, you live in a world where your
Not gonna say
neuronal
it.
networks.
I want to. Say it. Want to.
Your neuronal
Okay.
networks have been
Okay.
programmed in
Listen.
a certain way. I would say that you're a generation of robots. You're robotic. I don't think you can. There isn't much thinking done.
I think that it's quite the
people of the
opposite.
age.
I think that we're actually thinking, and you guys were asleep. And
You
put
don't
us
even
in
know
a
brain.
hellhole.
All right, tell us about
the boomer
brain
generation.
science.
royally screwed the entire environment.
Oh yeah, without them,
It ruined everything for my son's future. You have no repercussions to have to deal with. I'm not saying you did it personally, and I hate it when people just go right for the everybody who did everything before me is wrong. That's wrong.
I personally I've yet to say the "okay boomer" thing to anyone. I'm waiting for the right moment.
I was
geez,
just going to
Meek
drop
was
it, but
laying that on
I held back.
Yeah.
I appropriately held back. But I'm letting you know I thought it.
Yes.
We're going back to the point that I think that information is in technology is important because it's changing the world. And just let me get a point across here, is that because each and every one of us have a phone in our pocket, and same with China and the rest of the world. Just stop for a second. Let me speak, for the love of Christ. That the rest of the world is now all connected. We all have the ability to say, hey, let's meet up here, and not guaranteed that the government's looking over. I mean, they're recording everything, but it's just mass encapsulated data. They don't really know what's going on.
Right.
In China, this is happening they're retaliating against their government, their authoritarian, awful government.
Yes.
That is, not allowing them to do anything. So basically, they're using information and technology to step in and subvert the power from the government back to the people. And I think that's happening here too.
I think you've John Hopwood has left the room to go get some water, and I think you've hyper stimulated Eazy-G.
That's good.
Yeah. He's
got a phone. He's doing what we should do.
Right.
Technology's a good thing. I don't think it's bad, but we're becoming cyborgs because we're becoming connected to these things. And it's just the interface between us and that technology.
Jenny in the Facebook live chat says, if we run only on data, it's sad. What about reason and logic?
I agree. Oh my God, I can't agree more than that. She's right. Human logic is super important. We can't just run on ones and zeros and stuff. And that's where capitalism doesn't work, and where I think capitalism becomes a problem. Is that there's a human element of capitalism that I think changes that. So she's right. I think that we need to factor in human suffering and human importance. So human-centered capitalism, I think, is really a great alternative to that. Just making sure people have the fundamental needs to get by, but also so they don't have to do some specific job. If they want to create Etsy stuff or make a YouTube channel, that's the future. That's the world we're in now. Sears doesn't accept employees anymore because they don't exist. There aren't those jobs anymore. You can't work at a retail store because the mall's going to not exist. I used to work in consumer electronics for 4 years for a mega company.
Oh, yeah.
I made electronics and home appliances, and they do not care about the American consumer. They'll bring their factories here full of robots all day to appease President Trump and dodge taxes. But at the end of the day, they're not bringing jobs here. They don't care about bringing jobs here.
Right.
They care about their bottom line, which is capitalism, right? That's okay. But should they get the ability to dodge taxes and the rest of us pay taxes? Amazon paid zero in taxes last year, but we paid all that. So why not tax AI? Because AI is going to control things. MRIs, gone. There's not going to be people working in radiology anymore. That's gone. There is software better than them now.
Yeah.
So people laugh at that stuff, but it's true. It's a fact. There's an unfettered amount of money that can go into this market.
What is AI, please?
Artificial intelligence. Sorry.
All right.
I apologize.
I told you overstimulated him, see?
Well, no. Artificial intelligence, I think, is changing things fundamentally. Google operates under a DeepMind AI. It's
Google
why
is
they're
manipulated. What world do you live in?
It's why that the search engine is better than Bing or any of that other stuff.
It sells advertising.
It is. I think that you're right. I think that they're a mega company that is
Try
distorting.
to do a research.
They're distorting things because they have control over what we see and what we read now.
Because they're distorting it so they can make more money.
That's true. I agree with you.
It's a monopoly.
All they care about is but you can't just break up a company like that.
Yes, you can.
How? I mean, think about it. Nobody wants to use Bing. It doesn't work.
I use Bing for certain things.
It's garbage.
bull.
It's straight garbage. I will challenge you. We'll do the Bing Google challenge and have
I
you
don't
sit
even know
down
what-
and
what
try
is
to
Bing?
write obscure things like
I
red
don't
guy
write,
and
obscure things. Do you realize my consciousness precedes yours, which is your neuronal networks were programmed by the device in your pocket, which is a scientific fact, by the
I
way.
agree with you. I think that we're all becoming programmed from our phones.
You are people that are programmed on algorithms that we used in the gaming industry.
Absolutely.
Actually,
it's changing our minds. It's scary what it's doing.
No, it isn't changing. It already has.
It's changed our minds.
Actually,
I agree with
virtual.
And now when we talk about, let's go back to China.
Well,
Have
hang on. Virtual John Hopwood wants to chime in on your point there.
My neurons weren't wired on a matrix from a gambling program used on your social media. I mean, my God.
So Virtual John Hopwood agrees with you.
I should have used
John
the word
Hopwood.
algorithm.
Yes.
I know what you're talking, I know what you're talking about there.
What was the word that we found out yesterday?
Hedonics.
Hedonic.
I'm going to say the way that
I
word,
probably
that-
agree
that
with
was-
you more than you think.
No, I think that what you said there comes off if somebody heard that kind
I
of crazy,
just-
but it's right.
It's the
It is
earnestness.
these new programmed apps are designed to get us completely addicted to.
People don't
Oh,
have,
yeah.
I don't think
100%.
people have free will anymore.
They
it was
don't.
always very spotty whether you did or didn't.
I've seen some of the awesome people I know. I worked with a guy, a good friend, who's great at what he does, selling appliances. But kid's just locked to his phone and can't put it down. Like he can't do it. And I was like, dude, you just need to put your phone away. Like we were selling stuff there together, and I understand that because I feel that impulse. I go right to Facebook.
Oh, sure.
Just scroll.
Yeah.
Like that impulse is so unhealthy, and now we're just putting it in front of our
Oh,
kids.
yeah. No, it's very much a
I
psychological
have, and I feel guilty
addiction.
about it. I have a child that sits in front of a YouTube sometimes, and it's like more than he should. I don't feel good about it, but
A book you should read is The Cognitive Classroom by Jerome Ricart, who's over at Snoona.
I'll write that down. Actually,
I don't
need to
know
write that down.
if we have a copy
I'm
in
big on
our
audiobooks.
library.
It'll be in the podcast.
I mean, I should be. I do a lot of audiobooks just because I don't.
He
sit down with a
did
physical book.
research into he was at Northwestern for his PhDs, and he did an MIT post. They used to what do you call it? It's not a hippocampi down to the level of the dendrites, and he did research into that and about how technology imprints in the brain, and it is.
Do you not
really,
think that it's the next step in human
not
evolution?
good.
You don't think that's our next step?
Well,
in
the
human
next step in evolution would be back in 2000 was it Berkeley or was it at one of the Oxford or Cambridge? They actually soldered a neuron to a chip. I haven't followed that yet, but
So,
you will be able to have IQs of
I
300,
have been following
400.
this.
Wow.
I've been following this, and this is fascinating. That same technology is what they're using for the Neuralink that they've just been able. So we were just talking about this.
Well,
and how-
artificial intelligence. I've been reading about this since '88. Who the guy that died in MIT died last year? I have his book where he started modeling, computer You can never. The brain is not a computer, but
the storage is unending storage, right? And
what we knew about the brain when I went to started college, they thought that you had a limited amount of cells.
So
and that's not
hear
true.
me out. Hear me out. My whole theory is that the thing that has slowed us down, we went from mouse and keyboard back to kind of thumbs. We reverted, but it's just that little dip right before the crescendo or whatever it is, right before we catalyze. And the connection is the interface. They've just successfully, Elon Musk has this company or works with this company called Neuralink, where they've successfully attached like a 20-pin connector to the back of a mouse's head.
Wow.
And they can control a mouse with their brain. The mouse could control a mouse, which is, I think, kind of funny.
Yeah, theoretical.
And
it's no longer theoretical. You're right.
That's nuts. And now it's just downhill. Now it's as soon as we can interface with these things, we will be, and they're not gonna slow down. They haven't checked what 5G does to people. They're not gonna stop.
Right.
They don't give a damn.
And I honestly, I can't say it's necessarily a terrible thing because I do believe it's the next step in human evolution is to bind with AI and to become a symbiotic life form.
Yeah.
Anybody, the Greeks, Homo faber, and Marx talks about it too.
Talk about putting a chip.
Create technology, and then the technology creates us. that's 2,500
Years
years
ago, yeah.
that
Talking
it
about-
affects our brain, that in eating
You're right.
fat.
You talk about putting a chip in your head.
Yes.
Yeah, they've been talking about that for 20 years, but
They've just
now-
successfully done it
Yeah.
with mice for the first time. And so, I mean, this is that moment. This is that watershed moment that we talk about. In science fiction,
That sounds like a really bad idea.
it is. It isn't.
But it's
it could be
inevitable.
both. So that's it.
It's inevitable.
He just made a valid point, is that it's not that it's good or it's bad. It's going to happen.
Well, that's
And you can't stop it.
nobody really understands karma. You know, it's not the thing we learn in the West. It's karma's just 2 + 2 = 4,
They already put chips
and
in
it's
animals.
2 + 2 = 4.
What's that?
They already put chips in cats and dogs.
Well,
So that's a little bit different. Those are just trackers. They can do that with humans now. But the thing is
Well, but-
pretty soon that's going to be the same thing.
But remember when they used to have those on boxes? And they do have it on boxes now, so they scan them and stuff. And people thought that was a bad idea.
I'd be
Yep.
awfully
NFC,
sentimental.
communications,
Having
the
Wizard of
REM, the
Oz
REM,
now.
the
Yep.
REM thing.
Yeah,
Well, it's the same thing that's in our phones that allows us to do,
Wizard
Apple
of
Pay or whatever it's called. But
Well,
so
you
I
know,
guess,
what's going to happen now? is-
Scarecrow one to
and I subscribe to that supermarket news and the email and stuff. And what's going to happen now, and it's already happened, I guess, in Canada, where the whole store opened up and there's no cash registers.
yep, you just
Everything's on the smartphone.
Wow.
And
you
they
just
say
walk out with it, and they charge you for everything that you
and
leave
within
with.
10 years,
Wow.
they say all the stores there will be no more cashiers.
And this is why Andrew Ying's the only person that's talking about automation to this.
That's true.
Soon, 4 to 10 years, you're talking about 30% of the entire job population gone. He's not some doomsday naysayer. Like, he's literally, coming here saying the British are coming, but it's the robots are coming. And it's not Terminator.
Do we have it? We are the robots.
It's the
Oh, yes.
robots.
it's the McDonald's, it's the Amazon.
Well, you could- that was the
it's
thing.
the robot trucks that are going to drive 40 miles an hour, but nonstop. Right? They
Well,
don't have to go 70 anymore. They can just go nonstop from Boston to California on one battery charge.
But see, the thing
They
about
already exist.
talking about McDonald's in California 20 years ago, it's you don't have the language problem if you have the kiosk that can translate it to everybody, and
you're right.
you save on labor too.
That's it.
What's going on overseas?
You don't need.
You don't have to pay for
You
the-
don't
the-
have to worry
you don't-
about the language.
got this-
It's all
They got these special cameras. I don't know what country it is, but and if you don't follow the rules over there, you get ostracized. You know what that's all about?
Oh, is that the social score thing? It's like a credit
Yeah.
score.
What do you,
but
what do you
it's-
know about that?
That's in
That
China,
sounds-
right?
That sounds really bad.
That's part of the reason why we're having such a revolt. So with the advent of those technologies, I think we're also having an advent of technology from people at a social level. They have more control. They have their phone. They can text their friend, meet up, plan to beat up these authoritarian jerks that are taking away their rights and
never
creating
gonna
a
happen.
social, program where they're judging them based on their movements and all of those things based on what the government thinks is okay.
That's in China? Right.
That's authoritarianism to its most extreme.
Oh, yeah.
And
That's
it's
in China?
It's human rights violations.
I think
Human,
that is
my
human
opinion.
rights are only,
Fictitious.
a thing that I would like to not
Is that
say
in
they're
China?
fictitious, but they do come out of the
You call
product.
it as he sees it, man. I agree with you.
They come out of the revolt against the Church of England. The
We
First
decide what
Amendment
human
comes
rights
from
are,
the
I
First
think.
Amendment comes from the Areopagitica, which was a pamphlet by a Protestant divine who wrote Paradise Lost.
Right.
John Milton. Those are bound to a particular
did not know
culture
that.
and people that in a particular era, and many of them, like my
So-
forefathers, come here and
That's-
create an idea, and they say, well,
Such a good point.
they were deists, but
I think
some
that,
of the Jehovah. Well, these are God-given rights. This is natural
No,
law.
no,
It's
no.
rhetorical. It's
Yeah.
a rhetorical strategy, but one they very much believed in. And
Well, we
when I
can
was
too,
at
though.
Berkeley 25 years ago, the First Amendment and all that was criticized from the hard left as bourgeois privilege. And, you talk about Trump and his trashing of things. The left loves to trash,
Freedom
any
of speech.
objective reality or freedom of
I
speech.
agree. It's so crazy because freedom of speech in the First Amendment,
It
I
is
think, is so
fundamental
important.
to liberty.
I think so too, and
Yeah.
I think that this is why we're understanding when people start to say, "Well, healthcare is a human right," like liberty, and I understand what they're saying, and I agree with that to an extent because of the amount of money that we're wasting on healthcare and all those things.
Biggest
but we
industry.
really need to analyze what we consider rights because rights are put in place by human beings. If you don't believe that there's a God. At the end of the day, if you're
or the universe
or
is
the
a machine,
universe or
a deist.
whatever it may be, you may not believe that fair balance exists, that there is no God, and that children are being, ripped out of their parents' arms, and awful things happen all the time to innocent creatures, and people,
all
and
over
human
the world.
beings all over the world. Whether you're for animal rights or human rights or kids' rights, it does not matter.
Yeti
People
rights.
die and suffer all the time, and it is our reality. None of us want to deal with it. We all want to look away. We all want to just see the packaged meat. We don't want to see the end result.
Right.
But the fact is suffering happens everywhere, and we turn a blind eye to it. We can change that. We don't have to be a society that thrives on creature suffering, not human suffering, animal suffering too. It's to the point where technology is going to change everything, and they're not. I mean,
Well, you can make artificial meat.
That's exactly what I mean.
Well, real protein.
And not even artificial meat, lab grown meat. I think because people aren't going to accept artificial meat. I've had it. And I love it. I'm a vegetarian personally for a lot of reasons. Look, I've killed a deer. I grew up.
You
in
killed
New Hampshire.
Bambi's mother?
I did.
Shame.
I was young. It was a first experience, and it's part of the reason why I don't like hunting, and I don't like eating animals. But that's a completely different thing. I don't want to go on a crazy tangent. I already have. Human suffering and basic understanding is important to me.
So Ed Murphy in the Facebook live chat, he supports Andrew Yang. Jenny is commenting that in Amsterdam, where she visited, McDonald's was all self-order kiosk.
I believe it.
And Jenny, on the healthcare issue, Jenny says, so should I have the right to not treat you medically unless you pay me first? A reality that can be avoided when not priced out of reach.
That's absolutely right. So I think the thing that we have to ask ourselves is like, okay, are we going to put money above human existence? And that's what we do with capitalism.
We always did.
Well, that's what capitalism...
Not just capitalism either.
Capitalism kind of dictates the fundamental... We got to reinforce capitalism because capitalism will reinforce itself. Well, when you let that happen, capitalism only cares about profits. It's only a business. It's only designed to do one thing. I think Yang made a really valid point. He's a capitalist and he's pro-capitalism.
Yeah.
But human-centered capitalism is a different thing where, yes, it's only focused on profit as far as capitalism. But what's the profit means? Not GDP. GDP is dead. It's killing people because it's an archaic method of measurement.
Archaic and artificial.
It is. And the guy who created it said, hey, this is outdated. We got to get rid of this.
It was a hustle.
Right. And the thing is so everybody's like, okay, what's Yang going to do? He's going to go in and authoritarian rule this and sign off a bunch of executive orders? No. But he isn't messing around. He's playing chess. He knows that a presidential power allows him to go down to the growth of the Bureau of Economic Well-Being or Growth or whatever it is, and say, hey, we're not measuring our country's growth anymore by GDP. We're doing it based on this system. Freedom from drug addiction. Are they working? Are they just, if they're disabled, are they getting the help they need? If they're addicted, are they getting the help they need? All of those things factored in, but also, propping that up as a focus around creative, artistic focus.
Well,
there's not going to be the jobs that we used to have.
He seems to believe that UBI is going to solve a lot of that, right? Because whenever I hear him, and I know in these debates,
how about UBS?
In the debates, it's very hard for him to, because, in a debate, you only have a couple minutes at a time, so it's hard for him to put all this out there. But I've noticed that's been a consistent theme with the Democratic debates with him, is that UBI is going, that a lot of these things will...
He's got to get people to think and look and research, and that's going to be his hurdle.
You just named your Achilles heel. People think. People don't think.
You're right. His entire
they
thing
have
is
thinking done for
that
them.
math anagram is make America think harder.
Yes.
And the problem is
good luck.
Good luck, right?
Yeah,
hey, look, I'm for him, and I want to be an optimist. I have a kid, man. I want him to have a future, and I do believe UBI is the best solution because I live on social programs right now, unfortunately, and it is a mess. It's bureaucratic stress that added to an already stressful situation.
Right. Yeah,
My
no
wife
kidding.
passed away. I had no choice but to still deal with all those issues, or else the rug was going to be pulled out from under me. Do I need to go through that during that time? No, but they don't care because bureaucracy.
Right.
Now, if I had $1,000 a month, just naturally as a human being, all people 18 or older, and only if they have a social security number in this country, get that $1,000 a month. That's where the Trump supporters come in. They like
That was
the fact
George
that,
McGovern's
program.
program.
There's a lot of people that champion this idea, and I think the thing is people ask, well, where's the money? Where are we going to bloat the dollar? Right?
He won Massachusetts.
I am for the Ron Paul perspective.
Please.
Hey! Listen, he's got valid points in the aspect that the federal dollar is zero. Like it's like what 12 cents is what the dollar's worth in the United States right now. So what? You're making fake money.
So what? And what about the gold standard? You know, he talks about the gold standard. I wrote about
important.
that.
Fundamental.
It's not important. It's fetishistic.
When things,
and he never mentions the fact
things
that
go back to
you have the 1837
and gasoline.
depression.
I think it's going to become
you
pretty
have
important.
The 1873 depression. You have the long depression with the
make a valid
1878
point. Hey,
1893. Then you have the 1905 depression.
I will not
Gold
argue.
never stopped.
Silver
These
caused
horrific
problems too.
depressions.
Both of them
We're
cause
talking about silver.
Both of them cause.
We're talking about fetishism.
Different standards can cause issues in an economic system.
Gold is fetish.
But hey, well, listen, we're going off.
Let's
off topic.
talk about the Bitcoin.
We'll go back to. Well, look, listen, cryptocurrency is a really good thing to discuss here, but at the same time,
Where's
$1,000
Jeff
a month.
Cassell?
Listen, $1,000 a month. What would that do in our economy? Each and every one of us would probably spend it all every month.
Right.
Where's that going? Into our local economy.
Right.
Into our local businesses.
Yeah, it's stimulative.
So-and-so down the street wants to
No
open a
such thing as
store
inflation.
on Main Street. She can now afford the rent for the place to do it so she can get their foot in the door. And she can even have a couple of people. And if they were to generalize healthcare, like a free healthcare for people who want it, and you were to lose a lot, I think a lot of that money that libertarians are concerned about that's being spent and wasted would actually relieve that pressure that they're scared about, that inflated dollar. I think that less government spending, less power to the government is better always. We should subvert that
And
back to
where
us.
did that ever work?
Hey, where did we ever have computers in our pockets?
You're living
It's the
you're living
future.
in the United States
I'm
of
living
America.
in 2019
You're rebutting
where
the
people
entire.
walk around and I
You're
have to
rebutting
wonder
the system.
whether I'm addressing them correctly.
You're rebutting the system.
I have to go, did
You're
I
rebutting the system
use
that
your
you
pronoun?
live in.
Because I don't know if I did or not. Not that I don't want to be a jerk, but I genuinely don't want to
cares?
offend somebody.
Right.
You
Well,
know, like,
maybe
we
you
live in the
should.
future. Things have changed, and we have to adapt.
We don't
or
live
we
in
die.
the future. We live in the present.
You're right. But to me, it's
He's
still
got
the
you
future.
there. You have
But
to
you're
admit,
talking
Mark.
about you're
When I was a
talking
kid,
about
this was all
you're
science
rebutting the
fiction.
country that created the entire world you're talking about. And then you're saying, "Oh, let's just throw it away."
No,
all this
no,
plenty comes
no,
from the
no, no,
system
no,
you're
no.
talking
Hey,
about,
listen.
and the fiat currency. You couldn't have this with gold.
No, listen, you can't. Listen, I'm not arguing that. I do think that it's a fictitious dollar, though. It doesn't exist.
Everything
is fictitious. Money and value is fictitious. It's what we make it. If I take something like a comic book and go, it's $50 for you, but it's $12 for you, it's because I see the value in it, and whether you do or not when you choose to buy it is your choice.
Jenny in the Facebook live chat says gold is a fetish like furries. Oh my goodness. And she also says the Dutch have a good system with reduced out-of-pocket and monthly costs.
Yeah, I think that when he was saying earlier, but what was it? Did you say Scandinavia? Where were you using as an example? Sweden. I think that they have a good balance between capitalism, social programs, and I don't think
it's a
that's a bad
social
thing.
democracy. The old socialism
But I
died
think
in
the
1949.
problem with that is you're still using taxes to subvert that when you could use voluntarism. I think we don't have enough faith in human beings.
You're talking about the
Why we already pay taxes?
Voluntarism, great.
So,
voluntarism doesn't work.
Why?
'Cause it
Putting a
doesn't.
gun against their head works.
Nobody's
we do it
putting
right
a
now.
gun
If they were to
against
just take
their
that out,
head.
would some of us still pay taxes? Would some of us not? Sure, I wouldn't pay taxes, but some of us would still probably try to give back. I don't know. I see the good in people.
Sure.
Maybe that's my my hurdle, right? But I think that we can be better than we are, and I think we should
See,
try.
now that's another marketing type of thing. It's not what reality is.
Why? Reality is what we make it.
I have to agree with John on that one. I'm pretty skeptical about voluntarism.
You live in a
I don't think it.
You don't think that people can come together and make decisions? I mean,
no. Then they steal it. Look at that Wounded Warrior Project. Then it finally blew up when Dumbbell just said he was going to give it all this money, which he didn't do. And now we found out he didn't even give any of that money.
You're going to have people that are going to
Look at the
subvert that
President of the
system.
United States
But-
and his charities.
Listen, you're always going to have people
And
that
the
subvert that
Clinton's
system no
charities.
matter what you do.
Only he could make the Clinton's charities look good, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, Eazy-G agrees. Did you hear that?
We had a thing here where there was a
Taxation is
charity
theft.
here in Manchester.
So I'm just saying.
It's
theft.
everybody believes that emotionally. Who wants to pay taxes? There's
Nobody
one of the
does,
first
and we don't
things you
have to.
lose
We
in-
can move past it.
Yeah,
as human
sure. No,
beings.
yeah, right. It's all just going to rain down. And then
I'm
you
for
know
a
what?
negative income tax personally.
You're
That's why I'm for
not-
the freedom dividend. I just want my money back.
Here he wants taxes. He
Well,
wants something for
No,
nothing.
Listen, no.
I'm not sure those ideas are compatible, Mark.
Right.
No, I know, and that's the argument. I think they are compatible.
Sure,
I
it's
think
nothing for nothing. The Big Rock Candy Mountain, you just go
I
to the
know.
Big Rock Candy Mountain and a
But it's
fully roasted chicken just flies into your mouth and you just jump into the
So
scene. and
tax
there's
from
wine.
human beings is wrong, but tax from robots that make artificial labor is not. They're not harmed. They
Do you
don't hurt from working all
What
day.
is the first? What is
You
like
can
the
work
first,
a robot hundreds of hours and it doesn't matter. You can't work a person for that long. My point is you tax that labor
Why
that's
did-
being used.
They use slave
It's
labor
free
in
labor.
China and other countries.
But that's terrible.
They work them to death.
That's not a good thing. I'm saying that if we're going to have robots, we could shift towards
We
that.
are
So it's not
the
this fictitious,
robots.
like, oh, we don't have the money to spend. Amazon's making crazy money off of that automation, that laborless automation.
They made $5 billion profit. What is it? $100 billion or $200 billion dollars? It's not. They don't have a very good return.
$20 billion on profit, and they paid zero in taxes in 2018 or 2017.
Who has to pay taxes?
They don't. We do. They paid more than you and I probably in taxes. That's insane. My point is that
And
like
they always
taxes.
did.
It's not like I should be looking over and go, oh, they're paying more taxes than me. They should be they're paying less taxes than me. They should pay more, and I should pay less. It's more that I think that taxation problem is a concern. And when you're saying, okay, yeah, they're going to use a VAT tax and whatnot. Yeah, when you start to use a VAT tax over a period of time, that VAT tax is going to be almost no impact to those companies.
Value-added tax for people who don't know.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Value-added tax is going to be almost zero impact to those companies because of the advent of AI. Everything is going to grow exponentially, and AI is going to just fill in that void, just like in Star Trek.
But
Where
how
we
do-
all die.
They don't pay
It's two options.
taxes because they have an incredible operation of some of the best attorneys,
Oh, of
many
course.
of them that worked for tax
Also, they
authorities.
slashed all of those tax laws, and I don't think that
They get paid. I'll tell you something. The guy who created Beanie Babies, what was his name? High Warner. The Chinese paid him in UBS. He
Yep.
didn't have to. Nobody knows how much money he.
No, what is
made.
UBS?
Union Bank of Switzerland.
Okay.
That's where you get your money paid. It never gets declared. But France, what was it? They say 66 trillion or 6.6 trillion French francs or euros, just on the thing because of the. There's always these memes you see that drive me crazy. Oh, under Eisenhower they had a 91% tax rate. Yeah, and they still didn't pay taxes because they had tax shelters. In 1974, during the congressional
And that's why
hearings
Bernie's plan ain't gonna work.
into Rockefeller, who was
Can't
one
just
of like,
tax the rich.
if there
Doesn't
were
work.
10 billionaires in the entire world, he was one of them, and his brother David. He hadn't paid taxes in 3 years.
Oh, hello to Robert Dion, who has joined us online.
There's always a way to get around taxes.
How does this work mechanically, Mark? Though, when you talk about taxing the robots mechanically, you see what I did there?
Yeah.
Little pun.
Well, it's
How
a
does-
tax like on plant.
But how does that? Well,
So,
is that what you mean?
At the end
Like-
of the day, it's this entire concept from Gene Roddenberry, I think, that really is what we're going off of, is that he envisioned some sort of socialist weird thing. where
former
printers.
LAPD officer, by the way.
Oh, I did not know that.
You didn't? He was an interesting guy. I love the old Star Trek.
Oh,
That's
me too.
fascinating. I
Me
did not
too.
know
Yeah.
that. I'm
I
gonna
think
dig
he's-
into
I
that
love
now.
Gene
I get in
Roddenberry.
these research holes where I spend 45 minutes to an hour researching about something like
Oh,
that.
yeah,
So now,
yeah, yeah.
now I'm going to have to do it.
Yeah.
They
But we're-
Spock on one of the.
I didn't know
Was
that.
it one of the chiefs? It couldn't have been Chief Davis.
I guess the thing that I was going with more so that's a really big concern. I have when we're talking about automationless, laborless automation, is that people are saying, okay, well, these companies supply these robots, so ultimately it's their product. I agree with you, and I understand that. But we're already in deep. We're already into this point. We're already doing this stuff. So I don't want to be taxing companies. I think everybody should just hands out of everybody else's money, let the free market fix itself, and have some guidelines, because I think that, yes, you got to protect against major conglomerate corporations, but things are evolving. To break up Facebook and Google, it's not realistic.
Yes,
I think
it
that they're
is.
going to dominate things to an exponential, nobody's going to be able to control it. They're going to control government. And if anybody thinks that they're over the
government,
they already did. They controlled an entire election, and not by they wanted to. It just happened. They used Cambridge Analytica data to swing an election in some directions.
No, who's they?
The Trump campaign.
Oh,
They
yeah.
used Cambridge Analytica data to
in
try
the UK,
to.
they did the same thing.
I don't think they had the right to do it. Unfortunately,
They didn't
at the
have the
time.
right to do
It was
it.
wrong morally, but at the time, they had the legal right to do it. And that's the problem, is that we weren't ahead of it. We're not going to be ahead of automation. We're not going to be ahead of these things. And we've got to think outside of the box. We've got to think, okay, there's going to be a lot of rioting. There's going to be a mess. Look what happened Labor Day. You know history probably way better than I do. Labor Day exists because of major riots, because of job loss.
What
and it's
riot
nowhere
was
near
it? Do you
what's going to
remember?
happen.
Haymarket Square. May 1st is Labor Day in the entire world except Canada and the United States.
But
The Haymarket riot.
So, but all over
1888.
the world was impacted by these industrial the revolution at the time.
Yeah.
I think the same thing's going to happen now, but truck drivers aren't going to have it. They're not going to have those robots driving 40 miles an hour taking up there, because they're going to be one truck that runs at 40 miles an hour with 16 trailers attached to it, going slow down the road. And they're going to go nonstop all the way to their stop.
You ought to look up
Crazy stuff. It's really insane.
Yeah.
You ought to look up automobile franchise law and find out about how law
Oh man,
and lobbyists
all that stuff's out the window
can-
now because of Trump. Man, he's allowed them to just do whatever they want.
And all lobbyists can just stymie.
He thinks it's for the
things.
free market, but he's
amazing.
a mistake. I don't think he's a mistake. It's not what I'm saying is that he is a mistake. But
Yeah.
I use the word abortion.
And I'm not trying to get into the political thing with Trump and whatnot. I'm pretty in the middle. I don't really like him, and I think he's very unintelligent.
He's an expletive deleted.
Where we were going, we were talking about automation. How's that going to fill the void? I
have
never
to-
answered your question.
Can we automate him?
How is automation going to fill that labor that
What-
you were concerned about?
Would you tax these high-end love dolls with AI that could bring a lot of happiness and meaningful
Do
lives?
you think the other countries aren't already on it and they're already planning this out? They have an entire multi-billion-dollar market devoted to
Love
sex
dolls?
robots. Yep. Specifically sex robots.
Something to look forward
Insane
to.
stuff.
I do have to challenge what you said about Mark. What you said about Trump not being intelligent.
Very, very large brain. He said
brain.
Donald Trump, they don't know what to do. Never happened.
I mean, did you hear
It's like
me?
one of the
He has a large brain. They said Donald. They don't know what to do. Never
brain.
happened. Yes.
It's like a fetal mouse.
I do want to highlight the thing though, just before, because I'll lose track of this and I'll forget because that my brain.
Well, that's what we're here to
ADHD,
do.
Is to that's
Throw you off.
The podcast I'm from is called Abstract Transmissions for a reason. We never stay on topic. This is the reason why I think your valid concern is like, how are we going to have robots really kind of step in and handle look?
How if the robot's saucy? Gives you lip or something. Is there some type of grievance that you can
Nope.
file?
Oh man, this is.
I would hope so.
Look, I've read so many science fiction books about what happens if robots have personalities.
Right. Yeah.
About this
And there's
very
always the
discussion.
robot cop that decides that he's just a traffic cop.
Right.
All of a sudden, he's going to come and
Yep.
get you.
Logic faults,
Even
you
though
know?
it's just a traffic violation.
So, I mean, I guess the thing that I think is going to happen is that ultimately we're going to need to rely on this because we've already put in trust all of our trust in capitalism. Capitalism is going to ensure automation in AI. It's going to happen, and there's no way around it. So when that happens, it's going to take a lot of jobs from a lot of people. It already has. Retail's going. Almost every job that you can think of other than your guys who make fences and carpenters and appliance repair people, those jobs are safe because the robots can't do thinking around corners and stuff like that yet.
If I was a
Give it time.
carpenter
But
and you were a lady.
that's a wait out. But right now it's a serious thing. So I say we put those companies are going to make crazy amounts of money we can't even fathom. And it's just going to go to them.
Right.
It's going to destroy the economy. And it can't happen like that. And as much as I am a libertarian and I don't believe in taxing, oh man, this is a tough thing because I really, really struggle with the idea of that much money just completely leaving any base economy. It's going to dry up entire communities, and it's not some anti-progression thing. Like my buddy Brandon's always like, "Why are you always anti-progression?" I'm not. I'm pro
Brandon
robots.
Finney?
Yeah, he's usually always like, he makes a valid point because we shouldn't be against progression.
Right.
We need to be pro
Well,
progression.
what country is rioting right now?
A bunch, I
Hong
think.
Kong.
Hong
Kong. Is that the one that has those cameras on
That's the one.
where those people are being
Yep. That's the being
the
monitored
credits
and graded, and
so they're mad about that. You think that's coming here?
I think that has a factor in there. I don't think so. I think that the day that ever happens, corn-fed Americans with their shotguns. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
they don't have shotguns in Hong Kong.
Oh no,
It's kind of creeping in
Well,
though
not
here.
the
I
people.
mean, you have cities where they're
no gun rights,
where they're putting in cameras downtown. I mean, not the kind of not the same,
but not the same thing. But it's a slippery slope.
right. That's what I mean. Yeah, it's creeping in.
Well, do you ever read that book? I forget your name again.
Mark,
you ever read that book, Big Brother?
You mean 1984?
Yeah.
I was going to say, yeah.
That was a scary book.
So I think that
It was.
a very good perspective on that is reliance in government produces dependence in government, produces all of your rights given to the government.
That's
ultimately.
not true.
I think that it's a slippery slope to that. I really think that when you come together with the government, it's not just us five in a room making decisions, right? It's people we don't know that we didn't elect and we don't care about, that don't care about us making decisions for all of us.
Right.
That's a bunch of men in a behind closed doors circumstance. I think that's the concern that Republicans have about the impeachment thing. Is that it's just
come on.
Look, hey, listen.
They don't have any real concerns about anything.
I think they do. They don't
And
want
what's
to lose.
that?
They don't want to lose the presidency. They want him to be president again and take away women's rights.
Yeah. Well, I agree there.
Fortunately.
Yeah.
But I'm not for them. Don't get me wrong here.
Yeah.
I'm not pro-Trump.
By the way, Jenny is challenging your 16 trailers idea. He says that wouldn't work with road weight limits.
Yeah, not literally 16.
Right. You were being hyperbolic.
Oh, absolutely.
Wait till you meet the
But
Teamsters.
way more than they can do currently. But you're
Right.
right. Road limits wouldn't allow that. And I'm talking highway driving.
Yeah.
But yeah, a couple connected and just a really slow moving circumstance. And then when they get to the area, they'll have an entire robot system that will spring off. It'll be like a trolley that will just tote that one individual freighter to its individual spot.
Do you think
It's pretty cool tech.
being that we're in the Me Too era, do you think that robot construction workers would catcall women walking by?
I do think they would.
Yeah. That's disheartening.
As long as they identify as cisgender male.
Right. Yeah. Oh
Just
boy.
being sarcastic.
Too bad we can't move
Jesus.
it.
I don't offend anybody.
You
Got a lot of
should.
haters. No, I really
That's
don't
your
like to
problem.
offend people.
I've
but
heard
I do
some-
think that freedom of speech is more important than somebody else's ability to feel safe.
What do you think is going to happen to the MTA and the local people that drive the buses?
What will happen to
That's going to be
Charlie?
gone for sure. I think that those are going to be one of the first jobs that are going to go
Charlie.
because it's something that they can do easily. And then if they need to have somebody come in,
He's on the
control it.
MBTA.
They have like like drone operators. All of a
He
sudden
never
there's
heard of
snow in New
public
England.
unions.
They're going to come in and have somebody control it.
I happen
That's
to
going
hear
to be their problem with snow.
I happen to hear a few.
I don't know how they're gonna get over that.
Minutes of the morning meeting. They replayed before the Peter White Morning Show, and one of the there was Keith Alderman, Ward 12. He was very concerned about the MTA.
I thought it was about automatic garbage collection.
No, he was. I was listening this morning. He was worried about the. I know we don't supposed to talk local stuff, but he was worried about the MTA hooking up with another company. He said, "What's the money involved?"
That was
And-
just a but. That was answered by Mayor Craig like 3 weeks ago.
All right, it was an old show, but so you think they're all going to be run by automation, huh?
I do.
By
I think
sex
that,
robots.
I think that most basic
Even the
function,
school.
Oh no, I hope not.
I hope the schools
buses
don't have
too?
sex
school
robots.
buses.
They'll start recruiting.
You know what? I would trust my son on a robotic school bus over the bus drivers that he has now.
Wow.
Would
really?
you want the
It's not their fault.
robot drug
And this isn't
tested?
against bus drivers. This is an education system problem. They need to have people monitoring what's going on the bus while a bus driver's there. Because the bus driver is going to multitask everything that's going on that bus, plus driving a very heavy vehicle. It's
Right.
just not brain science.
But
like,
that's
How's the
Yeah.
robot
It's
going to do
dangerous.
it?
robots, you can rely on just the person in that. It's going to make it safer, and then have the robot control the car. So that person is just focusing on the kids, and then that robot's driving in that circumstance. Now, if you watch any of the Tesla software, which is completely open sourced and given out to everybody for free now, any company can buy it, and all of them are, because their software is phenomenal. They have no reason why not to. We can make self-driving cars. Everybody wants to do it. But
you have secrets.
All of these different companies want to make self-driving cars because the technology is good. You watch this on a screen, and it's identifying everything. It's identifying all the different stop signs. It's identifying all the different pedestrians, dogs, and all around you, not just in front of the car and possible obstructions. It's going to save
say
people.
a robot was driving the bus down the street, and the kid in the back seat was bullying somebody. The robot could
shoot him.
The robot's not going to have anything to do with it. It's just going to be focused on driving. And that's the best part about it, is that you've got the person focusing on the kids, and you've got so you're still going to have that driver. But
basically as a bus monitor.
But these are public school buses. It's theft. It's financed by taxation.
Hey, you know what? I don't think that
But what if a fight breaks out?
SpaceX is concerned with getting profit back, and they're spending a ton of money into getting the rest of human civilization to Mars. So I don't think that it can't be done.
You mean all 8
can't
billion
have
people?
Sweet robotic space buses without taxes. I think you can do this without taxes. I don't think
But
that
it's
you
theft.
No, that's what I'm saying. You don't need taxes to do this.
I think
you can do it without it.
I think Michael wants to get in.
Yes.
It could be a robot driving the bus, but also have a human in there as like a bus monitor, so it's not just the robot. So you understand.
all right.
A fantastic solution.
You know, if you had
It really
robotic,
solves a
Hang on,
lot of
Mike.
problems. Yeah.
if you had robotic athletic coaches, you wouldn't have all scandals and the no point. Well, you could have point.
Well, they're already
shaming, but
talking about having
no sexual harassment unless
yeah,
it's one
true.
of those sex robots.
Right.
They're already talking about having robot umpires in baseball.
Yep.
Yeah, after
Really?
after what happened in
Because
this
it's more
World
perfect.
Series.
Is that true? Are they really
yes.
talking about that?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Really? Oh, wow.
The list of jobs is staggering. And people don't realize, like, not my job. Okay, so maybe not your job, but ask your 5 friends and if their job's safe. Yeah. Because I used to sell appliances, and aside from local mom and pop company that can own, a ton of buying group because we're in New England or whatever, these larger companies like in Mass and Maine and New Hampshire that are local can maintain a foothold against these larger companies, but that's not for long. I mean, automation is going to push that out so hard. Specialty appliances are a little bit different, but I think retail
automate my wife.
gone. All of
What? Automate your what? You don't
Can I
have a
program her so she doesn't BIT?
you can get in trouble. Somebody's sleeping in the doghouse tonight.
Oh boy, I didn't even know he was married. He's
The
been
dog,
out on us all
the
this
dog's
time.
robotic too.
Hey, well,
Oh wow.
He wagged his tail the other day, and out
at least you
came
don't have to
some
worry
B
about him
cells.
dying on you.
Oh my.
I'd rather have a dog that lives forever.
You think a robot doesn't die?
Oh.
Or is obsolete?
Hey, listen, it definitely does, just slower than me. So
Does it go? Is there a
Not
robot?
really.
it's going to suffer without me.
Is there a
guys.
robot heaven?
They don't save the same robots at the General
don't think
Motors
there's any
plant
heaven,
that they had
so-
20 years ago.
I don't know. I think
This
that
is heaven.
yeah. Well,
Wow.
Apparently,
I guess if you say so.
I mean,
The path and the goal are
this is
one.
this is a pretty garbage simulation of heaven, man.
Well, according
No,
to
it's not.
according to Belinda Carlisle, heaven is a place on earth.
According to
That's your problem with perception.
Michio Kaku, everything here is more than likely mathematically
Are we talking about
simulation.
Are we talking about H.P.
Oh.
Lovecraft?
No, but we can. I can talk about Lovecraft. I like him a lot. I think amazing writing. I mean, I'm a big fan of Stephen King and Richard Chismar. Let me just say, is an amazing author.
I'm not familiar with him at all.
He is hopefully coming on the podcast. Actually, he's a best-selling author, co-wrote Gwendy's Button Box with Stephen King, and has an amazing group of short stories and 2 novels. Man, I'm probably getting this wrong. I've read both of them. A long road home, I think, and then man, I feel so bad getting this wrong because they're amazing. Every single story.
feel
in that is
free to
gripping.
blow it.
And then something. December.
You're not a robot.
No, I can't remember everything. I've
Let
really
it
bad
out.
memory actually because of my ADHD. It's terrible.
We mispronounced.
But
well,
I
not
remember
math.
every one of those stories.
Can't
and
remember words.
They're so cemented in my brain,
Yeah.
and that's what gets me as for a writer is how well I can relate to it, how
Yeah.
much it really sinks in to my mind, and how much it transports me. I think that's huge, and I think there's a lot of writing, science fiction specifically, that does not do that effectively.
Yeah.
Another really great book is called The Measurements of Decay by K.K. Eden. And it's very philosophical. He's definitely must have been a philosophy major, but also science fiction kind of blended in together, and like all interconnectivity and consciousness and how we're separating ourselves in different realities. And
Yeah.
and it goes over a long span of time. It's hard to explain in words. Read about it. It's worth your time. And I mean, it's like the length of The Stand, but
Yeah,
it's
wow.
awesome.
Yeah.
It's really, really, really phenomenal.
Yeah.
I've never been able to get through a Philip Dick novel.
Oh, really?
He's a very good writer, but just
yeah,
I don't know.
getcha.
The structure must.
It's a
We
lot of
just
time
don't
it's jarring.
We just don't get there.
I
In
agree
time.
with you. He does write. He did write kind of
But he's a very
conventionally
good
in a
writer.
couple of different things.
Yeah.
But like
You're waiting for.
Scanner
I guess because of
Darkly
the
specifically.
genre, the convention. Let's get there.
Right.
Let's have a little.
But I like the road to get there too. Like the Dark Tower series for me, for
Yeah.
Stephen King, is just. It's the road, and the ending. I mean, is like it. People
Don't
can
tell
say whatever.
anybody.
We won't talk. We won't spoiler alert. But I think it's phenomenal, and he gets trashed on a lot for his endings. But I think that's unfair because I think the endings don't really matter that much to me. The character build and throughout the story is really important.
Yeah.
Having a really bad ending sometimes is kind of a good turn. Like the end to The Mist. I'm sorry if people haven't seen it by now. You've had enough time to watch this movie. Instead, in the book, in the short novel, like they keep going and traveling, and in the movie at the end, he doesn't want his kid to suffer or anybody, so he kills everybody with the remaining bullets, and he doesn't have one for himself. Goes out, and then at the last minute, right before monsters kill him, the cavalry comes in to save him.
That's a Ray
Just like,
Bradbury
what the heck?
ending.
Yes. It was that's exactly what I thought.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I'm like, and you know what? Everything else was pristine to the adaptation for the most part.
Oh, really? Yeah.
But the ending.
Yeah.
And it was a Ray Bradbury kind of ending. And I think
Yeah.
Stephen King appreciated that.
Yeah.
Because he didn't like, I don't know if he didn't like the ending, but sorry, I went on a writer tangent.
You should tell us more about your podcast. We haven't really talked about it.
Yeah, no, I was
Transmissions.
having so much fun. The dynamic back and
Are
forth.
there any robots?
We talk a
your
lot about
podcast?
robots
No, I'm
and
saying
aliens.
not
Really?
about them, but do you have
No.
any robotic
don't.
co-hosts or guests?
No.
How would you know?
I would say I'm more robotic than Tigo is. I mean, so on the show, my name's Cuffy Proctor. It's just a name from a close friend of mine. But Mark. I don't care. We call each other Tigo,
Yeah.
Justin, Mark, Cuffy. It doesn't. It's this back and forth thing. We're not really trying to hide our personas or anything like that. It's just kind of a nickname thing. We talk about pretty much everything. It's called Abstract Transmissions, and it's really a discussion, a long form discussion with guests. We want to talk to every type of person we can. It doesn't matter what they do for work, we've talked to politicians, artists, an author coming soon.
I was on the show.
Isn't it
was on the
ironic?
show. The list goes on. We just had that was one of our better listened episodes.
Well, he had
we did really good on that episode for a back and forth dynamic. My concern's always running out of something to say.
Yeah.
He had the teenage band Nocturnal Emissions. Didn't you?
That's a hell of a band name. Were they a punk band?
I don't.
Oh, he's being
The look on your
coy
face
now.
says, I don't know.
As long as it's a made-up name, he
We had a-
flows
we
with
had
it.
a,
but when you hit him right on the nail,
Aliens.
On your show, Matt,
Aliens.
a couple weeks ago, we had a presidential candidate. Now he's an official candidate for president.
Oh, yes.
a real alien.
Stephen Comley Sr. He's
He called up the other day on Peter White Morning Show, and
Yeah.
he wants to be
$10,000
on the morning show again. And Peter
Said 9.
Peter told him to get a hold of Jason.
he wants to. He left me a voicemail. He wants to come back on, and I do have. By the way, I'll just remind everyone. I do have in this envelope
Nocturnal Emissions.
These are secret documents given to me by Stephen Comley Sr. presidential candidate running for the Republican nomination, challenging Donald Trump. I have secret documents.
Just think
So he's
how
challenging
much
him.
better
They're secret documents.
the nuclear plants would be if they were all robotic.
Yes, that's a
Right.
wonderful idea.
Yeah, you should be on
Peter
nocturnal
White
emissions.
has supposedly some secret documents too.
Peter White, yes, but Peter White took his envelope of secret documents and he filed them away, and they're being stored in a place that no one would ever think to look for them.
Probably under his mattress.
No.
The dumpster.
You're getting warm, but I've held on to my secret. I carry these.
I've got backup.
Good one there.
I carry these. Well,
And
no,
then it's right over there.
that's actually correct. But I carry my secret documents around with me in my bag. They're secret documents, you know. By the way, too,
Have you looked at them?
I want to thank. Of course, I have. Eazy-G.
What's that, a
and they're
bunch of tea
fascinating.
bags?
No, this was brought into me by Eazy-G, our very own Eazy-G, Eric Gagnon. This wonderful gift for Janet. Excuse me. I'm still fighting this cough. This wonderful
You're almost
gift.
there.
This wonderful gift
Yeah,
for Jenny
she's
and I.
almost there,
I'm
yeah.
so close to being over this cough. This wonderful gift for Jenny and I. These so people watching online can see, and of course you can write on these. I'm grateful for, and you write something that you're grateful for. Is it that you do one a day, Eazy-G? Is that the idea during
Oh,
November?
you can do it any way you want.
Any way you want.
I'll
Okay.
leave it up to you and Jenny.
Well, that is lovely. And where did you get this?
I made it at the library. It's like a small craft.
You made this. Well, that is wonderful. Thank you so much, Eazy-G. That, you know what? That deserves an air horn. Your lovely gift. There we go. Thank you.
Hey, are you working, Eazy-G?
Is that an effects
Not at
board?
the moment.
Okay. Are you looking for a job?
I'm looking around.
Okay.
No.
Well, if we hear
I should-
anything.
maybe I should work for a robot company.
So this is I think a really fundamental thing is that how much more of an impact would $1,000 a month make in your life in that transition between work or anything like that? It'd
Could
be
I
huge,
spend
right?
it on a prostitute?
You can. You can.
I'd say it'd make a big impact on my life.
You
Wow.
can really make America great again that way.
Blow the
Yes.
blow the carbon right out
I think that
of the
I
carburetor.
think that's something that I think that we should go to legalize prostitution personally. And
Well,
people,
yeah.
what they do with their bodies is their choice.
I agree.
I just feel like
Look
I'm
at
very much
Eazy-G.
like,
We don't
leave
care
us
about
alone.
him.
You know, do whatever you want.
You know,
Jeez.
wrestling, muscle. What do they call it when the muscle men do their
Pose.
thing?
Pose.
Flex.
Yeah, you can flex for us, Eazy-G, if you want to. The Hulk Hogan. By the way, Jenny in the Facebook live chat says, that is so cool, Easy. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you.
Did they let you flex on the stage at the Veterans Day shindig?
No.
Well, that would intimidate everyone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the vets were, disabled, and
Yes.
and
I
make
don't,
them.
I don't want to distract from their special day.
Right. Yeah, this is very good of you, Easy-G. You're so humble.
I held back.
Yes.
You might have frightened Mayor Craig.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
Well,
she was there. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Who's that?
Mayor Craig.
That's
We're not supposed to
Manchester?
talk about local
She's
politics.
a marathoner, but her and her husband ran like 14 Boston marathons till she became mayor, and then they don't do it anymore. But Eazy-G, it's quite a different type of physique than a marathoner.
Yes. He's more the bodybuilder type.
She could have been startled,
Yes,
or even
yes.
frightened
Yes. He's made of granite, in fact.
when he's
Yeah.
got the
Bob, living in
10W40
New
oil.
Hampshire. Bob,
Right.
living in Nampshire.
That's
Old
right.
Nampshire.
Yes.
You don't even have to separate the two. You can just call it Nampshire.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You can.
Wow, that's very efficient.
We're all about efficiency.
Economy of language.
here
I
in
like
Nampshire.
that.
Where does he work the clam? Where do you work the Clam King?
Creamland.
Creamland,
Yes.
Dreamland. That's
Yeah,
right.
That's right. Are you doing anything musically, Mark?
Yeah.
That's when I met you the first time. You're
yeah.
very good.
I
He does music.
Yes.
I was here with him. That was a
We're in a band
year
called
ago.
Ambient Discord, and we're just kind of focusing on structuring some material. We're playing in January at an event at the Brick House called Math Fest, which is trying to reinforce Andrew Yang and his whole campaign and stuff. So we're getting bands together, us and Bigfoot. And those guys are
Ooh.
fantastic, awesome bands. And then
A Yeti there.
Gnostic Sun, which is an acoustic project. So we're still looking for more projects. Anybody who's pro support of Andrew Yang is welcome, or anybody who wants to play. We're really trying to just get as many bands together for the for the cause. So, I mean, it's entirely up to the person whether they feel politically or not.
Does Andrew Yang believe in alien civilization?
I'd like to know that, actually. And,
does he believe that
at one point, we were expected to get him on the podcast, and then he became a rock star, and I don't know what's going to go on now. So
now, does Ambient Discord have anything online? Do you have any music online?
We do have some material, but it's not anything that's hard recorded, which we really should put it up. We have actual track recordings of live recording stuff that we could just put up.
Yeah.
We didn't do it yet because it's not, it's not what we really kind of want to show, but it's not bad. I mean, we should probably put up some sort of rough material. It's something that we kind of tossed around. Back
let it all hang out.
I mean, we're that band that's just kind of go with the flow. We don't really, we're not in it to make people proud or anything. We do it because it's selfish and we like making music.
Right.
But we also like, I value what people think of music and whatnot, but it's a personal energy release.
Dude, the audience wants you to give them everything.
Yeah.
That's what Little Richard said.
But they don't know what's best for them.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
They don't know what's best for themselves.
Yeah. I hate when people yell out Freebird. Anyone who
Too
does
much
that,
imprinting
they should be embarrassed.
on the hippocampus.
It's
one, because it's cringy.
Well, aren't they looking
and two,
for those
because
moments with the T-shirts and that during the Freebirds song?
Huh?
Well, you guys never lived down south.
I never have lived.
I have
in the
lived
South.
in Florida for a short amount of time.
Oh.
Very short.
Well, that's kind of civilized
Right
south.
back.
Yeah.
The minute I get yelled at for holding a door for somebody that was a different skin color than me, and he like got into it with me, I'm like, I'm out. I moved right back to New Hampshire. I was all done.
That's what did it?
Yeah.
Were you in the panhandle?
That actually, to be fair, it was that, and then the spider in my pants.
Oh, right.
I woke
what
up
about
one morning,
the
went to put my foot in my pants, and there was like a brown recluse there, and I'm like, no.
Is that
Nope, I'm out.
Is that a spider in your pants, or do you just live in Florida?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Wow.
You can't really, no matter what you do, you still kind of have to live with creatures.
Yeah.
No matter how
Yeah,
clean your
no.
house is.
I've always heard that. Yeah,
Oof.
that would scare me. I would have a hard time with that.
Bueno.
I'd have a very hard time with that. Yeah.
That's why I live where the air hurts my face, just like the meme.
Right?
It's true.
Yes.
Big giant like snake on the door. I'm like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I'll deal with the snow. I really
So you got
hate.
yelled at for opening a door for a black lady?
Yeah, actually, that's exactly what it was. I was coming out of this. I've lived in New England my whole entire life, and when I was a kid, you just kind of hold the door for everybody. I don't know.
Right,
It's just
of
not a
course.
thing.
Yeah.
And the guy
Over there, you don't do it.
he like looked at me and he said something. I'm not going to repeat it. It was
Right.
it was just like really awful, and I'm like, excuse the expletive out of me. Like, what?
Wow.
What did you say to me? My dad's like, dude, don't. Look at this truck. He's got my rebel flags and
Every
everything.
rebel
The
has
whole
a
thing.
gun.
I'm like, all right,
yeah.
huge truck, gun rack. I'm like, yeah, you don't want problems. This is Titusville, Florida. You don't want to deal with these people.
No kidding.
Wow.
I moved right back.
Horrible.
It wasn't my thing. No offense to Titusville. There's some nice areas, but Florida's not for me. Neither is the South in general.
Yeah.
I think it's great if you like, the Dukes of Hazzard, but hey.
Hey, who doesn't?
I liked
Yeah.
the Dukes when I was a kid.
Yeah, who doesn't?
But,
Daisy
me.
Dukes.
I mean, I
Yeah.
could care
Wow.
less about that car.